Welcome to the University of Nottingham and to the Department of Theology and Religious Studies. This is another in our Why Studies series, and with me today is Professor Agata Bielik-Robson, who's the Professor of Jewish Studies here in Nottingham, and she is going to answer the question, why study Judaism? Agatha.
Well, first of all, I would say that studying Judaism is not exactly the same as studying Jewish studies.
Okay.
There's something more to Jewish religion than Judaism as we know it, that is rabbinical Judaism. And I would explain it in the moment. But I think that, first of all, I maybe need to explain to the students of theology what it is worth to plunge into the depths of Jewish religion. There are many reasons for that, but theologically speaking, the most important one is that the study of Jewish religion, Judaism included, is absolutely essential for any Christian theologian. And there are usually few preconceptions about Judaism or Jewish religion among the Christians. And I usually encounter two of them among my students here at the department. One quite widespread preconception about Judaism is, and I quote one of my first year students, is that it is Christianity without Christ. Mm-hmm. That is the kind of idea about Judaism as basically a religion anticipating the coming of Messiah called Jesus Christ, and fulfilling itself in the new religion called Christianity. Mm-hmm. And this preconception, which we can call, quoting my student, Christianity without Christ, makes the Hebrew Bible, that is the Old Testament, a kind of a prologue to the foundation of a new religion, the new Christian religion, and in a way leaves nothing strange, exotic, or autonomous to the Hebrew Bible. So the Hebrew Bible is read according to this misconception as something that fully sort of anticipates or prefigures the foundation of Christianity. So it's in a way fully subsumed into the New Testament. Old Covenant, the Hebrew Covenant, is being totally replaced by the new one. So this is the kind of a one misconception about Judaism that we usually need to dispel when we begin to teach about Judaism or Jewish or Hebrew religion. But the other one is that actually New Testament has nothing in common with the Old one. It is also quite widespread among young students of theology, usually coming from the strong Lutheran background. Mm-hmm. And while the first misconception we can call supersessionist, because it assumes that Christianity in a way replaced completely the old religion, renewed it, and in a way did it better than the Jewish revelation. This misconception we can call Marcionite, because it sort of comes from the old heretic, even within Christianity, heretic thinker called Marcion from the 2nd century, who famously claimed that Jesus, or the God of the New Testament, has nothing in common with Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament. And actually these two testaments, these two religious testimonies, have to be completely severed. There is no link between them. Quite to the contrary, there is a hostility between these two types of testaments, and that's why they have to be taught completely separately. So we have these two, in a way, completely contradictory misconceptions about the Hebrew Bible and the Judaic tradition. One supersessionist that makes the Hebrew Bible just a preliminary stage to the study of Christianity, and the other one, Marcionite, which says, well, in a way, Christianity is very strongly anti-Jewish. And it tends to read St. Paul, in this very kind of anti-Hebrew manner that the foundation of Christianity and Christian universalism is in a way a rejection of the Jewish law and the Jewish tradition.
And of course, the sad reality is that even if you look at scholarly works from the first half of the 20th century, you will find both of those notions about Judaism quite commonly adhered to, that particularly the one that the New Testament is somehow the exact opposite of the Old, and there's almost no contact.
Yes.
It's quite amazing. In my own field, there was a major discovery in the late 19th century, and as late as the 1940s, when Jewish scholars were recognizing here is an early Christian document that actually throws light on an otherwise unknown aspect of first century Judaism, some Christian scholars said, "Oh no, that can't be. This document there's something wrong with it because there's just no contact." It's quite an amazing how, as late as the 1940s, serious academic scholars could be saying this.
Absolutely, and this is not a thing that belongs to the past. This is happening all the time. As I'm saying, I'm quoting my students, right, from the theology department, that they wouldn't call these positions that way. Right. We sort of live in a politically correct age, so we are not allowed to use anymore either the epithet supersessionist or Marcionite. But in fact, these misconceptions are still very much alive in our minds. So in a way, studying the Jewish studies, the mysteries of Jewish religion, is in a way to dispel these two ways of thinking and to show actually that neither of them is true. That is, Judaism is not Christianity without Christ, and the revelation, the Jewish revelation, and everything that follows from it is understood differently than in Christianity. But on the other hand, it is in a way the same revelation. It's just played out so differently. So we cannot really talk about absolute isolation of these two religions, right? So, in fact, in the 20th century, especially in the second half of the 20th century, we encounter a kind of a new trend, which I wouldn't call that as a sort of trend in biblical studies that tends towards looking at these two religions as very close to each other. It's rather looking at them as alternatives, as a sort of alternative lines of development coming from the same revelation. And especially looking at the first centuries before Christ and right after Christ, when we can talk about a kind of a Judeo-Christian melting pot. A very interesting era, both in sort of early Christian history and Jewish history, which shows many common points, but also many points of difference, where actually Judaism is also torn internally between sort of early emerging rabbinic type of faith, very much concentrated around first the temple, and then after the destruction of the temple, the sort of ritualistic aspect of Jewish life, and the so-called messianic, very hot apocalyptic element from which eventually Christianity sprang. So now there is this tendency, and I very much adhere to it, to actually look at, first of all, Christianity as a kind of a offshoot of the messianic movements within the Judaism itself, and also at the sort of early Judaism of the Christian era as something that is actually not so isolated and not so separate from the Christian faith.
And of course, we have the phenomenon of documents that were written around that time, and we often can't tell whether they were written by people that we put in inverted commas Christian or in inverted commas Jews, because they're coming from this melting pot.
Yes, and I would add also a third element to this melting pot, gnosis.
Yes.
So we have a sort of a ritualistic faith of the sort of rabbinic origin. We have a sort of Gnostic, apocalyptic element, and the messianic, Jewish messianic element, which strives towards upheaval, revolution, a radical change of living conditions.
And when we use the word the Gnostic element, what we're really, we need to give a very quick definition. It's the interface between a tradition of monotheism and the sort of religions that were in the surrounding culture, and it produces this sort of strange mix.
It is a strange mix. It is a kind of a dualistic element introduced into monotheism, which in a Jewish original understanding, let's say Jewish gnosis of this period, would be a tension between God, at that time conceived as a god of Exodus especially, and the gods of nature.
Okay.
The pagan gods. That would be like a dualistic tension or even war between the alien god coming from the outside, called the god of Exodus, and the pagan gods of nature, represented by the gods of Egypt.
Agatha, thank you very much. You have just had a taster of what it is to engage in Jewish studies here in the Department of Theology and Religious Studies in the University of Nottingham. I hope that it has helped you and that you will look at other videos in the series. Thanks, Agatha.
Thank you.
Thank you.